In life, we all ask the questions, why me? Why now? And why did this happen to me? But if we are honest with ourselves, as we keep living, we realize it had to happen. Why? Fate, purpose, destiny. In the long-anticipated release from G4 Life Publishing Company, author Terrence Williams takes us on a journey of some of life's lessons he has learned. On this journey, we find lessons which include makeover, it wasn't all her fault, legacy, and moving forward backwards. He encourages the reader to embrace the reality we all must face at some point in life, that whether you believe it or not, it had to happen.
And then people say, Sandra, I'm not attracting the things that I wanted. And then I compliment. You don't attract the things you wanted. You attract the human you are. You attract who you are. So if you're not getting the things you want, it's because you are not what you're supposed to be to attract that. And that goes for me too. If I am not attracting that 300,000 a year, it's because I'm not quite that person yet. But it doesn't mean that I'm not capable. It just means that I'm being prepared and I gotta trust.
Yes, that's good. That is good. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for another great episode of Grace Talks. I am your host, Terrence. Most of you know me as T-Dub, but welcome to something that has been just a blessing, stirring the hearts of so many people. And I want to make sure that this episode is nothing short of amazing because I have an amazing guest on today. I first want to say, for those of you who are joining us for the first episode of Grace Talks, we are ordinary people doing extraordinary things because we're doing it through conversations. We're doing it through wonderful works and acts of empowerment. We're doing it for community outreach. We're doing it to just empower one another because sometimes lives can be impacted or improved simply by having a conversation. We have to learn to communicate. And we use this platform, Grace Talks podcast, to do just that. Today, we conclude with our final episode of the series entitled The Wilderness Experience. And my guest today, she has a story like none other. And I'm just so excited and so ready for you to hear from her and how she has lived her life and how she has come through to be a blessing to each and every one of us. So without further ado, I want to present to some and introduce to other Sandra Michaelsen. Welcome, Sandra.
Hello, thank you so much for the warm introduction. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here, and I hope I can delight everyone with my words and what I have to say. So let's get started.
Now, I was reading on in preparing for the interview, Sandra, and I found out that you've been in banking for 25 years. Is that correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. A long time. I done a little bit of everything.
What?
Mortgage.
Yes. What keeps the spiciness going? What keeps the interest high for you in the area of banking?
I feel like I have a calling. I feel like I need to help more than just the individuals that I interact with. I feel like I have something that I can share that I learned over these 25 years
Mm-hmm.
that it needs to be brought it out to everyone so everyone can experience the life that I have been experiencing, something a little more light, something a little more peaceful, and by having excellent credit, by saving when God blesses you, by not worrying, and by just living one day at a time, and by remembering that everything we need is going to get provided to us, and so on.
Let me ask you a question. How did you get into the banking industry? What pulled you in, and when was this?
Well, it's a very beautiful story. My first job, I was 13 years old, back in Brazil, did not speak any English. And I went to work for a law firm with 13 years old. My mom got the job. And at that law firm, I used to serve tea to the clients. I used to do small receipts because besides the lawyer, we used to have a rental place. We used to prepare leases and we used to collect the rentals. And in that office at 13 years old, one of my jobs was to run to the bank. And every time I would go to the bank, I would have this feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is where I belong. I had no clue how I was going to end up in banking because it felt so far from my dream. But I
Mm-hmm.
knew that when I was inside the banking, I felt my heart warm, and also they had air conditioning. And at the
Yeah.
office that I used to work, they did not have air conditioning. And I said, I'm determined. I'm going to work in banking for the air conditioning. And then somehow God brought me to United States, and it took me my very first job when I got my work permit. My very first job went to a bank.
Okay.
I went to
Okay.
work for a bank.
You mentioned Brazil, so that is your home country?
Correct. I born in
Okay.
Brazil, spoke Portuguese.
Now, I saw that. I was getting ready to mention that you speak three different languages, and what are they again?
Portuguese, because I born in Brazil. Then I learned English when I came to United States at 21. And then I learned Spanish in 2019 because it was necessary. I moved to Texas.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I took Spanish in high school as well as college, and I just felt as if it was the easiest language to take as far as high school or even college. Had no earthly clue that I was moving to Texas. But I did not fully embrace what I learned because I thought, it's just a class. I won't really have to use it, things of that nature. But get to Texas years later, decades later, and I'm like, oh my God, I should have paid attention. Um, but then I started doing different things to refresh my memory in Spanish, and I, like you, it is necessary. It is absolutely necessary, and it takes your life to another level. So you absolutely talk about being dedicated and self-motivated. Did this connect to things that transpired, like you were saying, when you were 13 and your exposure to the bank? Is that where you feel those skills kind of began? Or is it something that your parents were like, listen, Sandra, I'm going to need you, whatever you do, you need to be dedicated? How did that all evolve?
Dedicated. I believe it came from my mom and my father. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was very dedicated. Everything she would do, she would put 110%. And motivated is definitely my father. He was so motivated. He would say, I'm gonna buy myself a house. We had no money. And suddenly he wrote it down. He believed it. He made everybody believe it. And waha, he got himself the house. Made it like magic. So mom and dad, I would say.
That's great. That's great. Um, let's talk. Let's move into our first segment, where you talked about being dedicated, self-motivated, driven. And our first segment we're going to discuss today has to do with entering into a wilderness experience. Now, in preparing this series, I wanted to deal with testing or wilderness and encountered people who could not only encourage me, but encourage the world with how they dealt with their wilderness experience. So, in talking about entering into the wilderness experience, let me ask you this question. When did you know? When did you realize that you were walking into a place of testing? And you can draw from any of your life experiences where there was this process. But when did you realize in the encounter that either you were going into a testing period or a wilderness experience? When did you realize that, and how did you respond to it?
I think the biggest testing that I can remember now was when I was living in Sao Paulo, 21 years old. I had a dream to become a flight attendant. And I got the license, because in Brazil you have to have the license. And I was invited for an interview with another 200 other girls, beautiful, smart. And in the interview, they asked me one question. They said, do you speak English? And I was like, I had no clue what they had said it even. I didn't
Wow.
speak any English. And in that moment, I had left my city, I had left my job, I had left everything. And I'm like, what I'm here to learn? What do I need to gain from this? And how am I going to conquer this fast and furious? And my first test was, I want to speak the language, and I was determined to learn, and I didn't have enough time or money or resources. So I had to trust that God would provide all of that. And the story behind that and how I end up here is quite magic. And that's where I learned the magic. And then
Did
I
you
went,
recognize in that moment, did you recognize it to be wilderness, or you just felt that it was a big challenge in your life?
I recognized that I wasn't alone, and that was my only way out. because there was not a lot of options for me. Going back to my hometown, no way. You know, staying at that position where I was, making so small amount of money that it wasn't enough for a rent, it wasn't enough for food, it wasn't enough for anything. That wasn't an option either.
Wow.
And I just felt like there was a way out, and I was gonna do all the step would take to get out. And fear would kick in, and I would say, you have no place here, because I know where I want to be, and you can come in.
So emotionally, you sound as if emotionally you were strong, spiritually you were strong. So mentally, again, like we said earlier, you were already in a place of being driven and self-motivated. So I know that you were feeling that. You were also feeling spiritually that I'm not alone. God is with me. But then you talked about the emotional component, fear. When you encounter fear on... Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's good. That's good. Go ahead.
When I encountered the most amount of fear,
I was getting ready to say, when you encounter fear, what is it that you do to deal with fear? Personally,
when
what
I
do you do?
I say, you don't belong here. If you come in, I know you're gonna run me over. So you got no space for you. I'm sorry. You gotta go, because I need to get somewhere, and I need to get back in track where I was. And I can give you a small example that I run into life that it tested me as no ending.
Wow. Wow. So you get the test, you get moving. To the States. Let's now deal with enduring this wilderness, this testing, this place that you've never been before, this encounter where what do I do next? What was the hardest obstacle you had to face while you were enduring the wilderness of moving to a whole new country? What was the most difficult? What was the hardest obstacle that Sandra faced making that move and experiencing what we could consider a wilderness component?
I think that the worst was when I was already here living with the family. I came as an au pair in America, and everything was going wrong. It was a chaos. I was living with this family that thought that I was going to be able to speak Portuguese with the kids, and they thought I could cook, and they thought that I could babysit. And I noticed that I couldn't do any of those things. I couldn't be any of their expectations. And everything I would touch, it was breaking it. I was in their house for about 10 days, and I would go to the wash machine super cautiously, and it will break. And I would turn on the radio, and it will break.
Wow.
And everything was breaking it. And then the kid was running the house with a chopstick, and he hurt himself and ripped it inside of his mouth because he followed the chopstick. So I was like, why did you bring me here, God? And now you're gonna, what, send me back? Again, I was like, what is going on? But remember, I only got here because of the story that I didn't told you.
I'm listen. I'm here for it.
Okay, then I'm going to tell you the story. I got to tell you the story. I wanted to be a flight attendant, and remember, I went to the interview, and and they said, do you speak English? And I said, no. So I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to speak English. I know that in order for you to reach any goal, you have to keep moving. So I went to look for a school. I went to one school, another school, and they all told me the similar things. It's going to cost you X amount of money in about 5 years, and you have to study every Saturday. And I'm like, I don't have 5 years. I don't have the X amount of money, but I'm going to learn. So I started looking for school, and all of a sudden I encountered a sign on the street that said, speak fluently in 8 weeks. I was like, oh, I have 8 weeks fluently. That's what I need. Perfect. Thank you, God. That's just what I need. Walk in, register, believe it, did not doubt for 1 second, and start studying every day. You could attend classes Monday to Saturday. And I just work all day, study all night. One day, the teacher came to me and said, Sandra, you know they trick you. And I'm like, no, in my hometown, nobody tricks me. Nobody tricks anyone. In my hometown, everybody's good and has good intentions. And then he's like, no, but it doesn't matter if you stay in the school, you're never going to speak fluently. And I'm like, oh no, I will. So another 8 weeks went by, and he said, Sandra, you still here? And I said, yes, I'm getting better. I know where I want to go. I want to speak fluently. He's like, you know what? You should check it out, this au pair in America, because my cousin just came back. And I'm like, what is that? It's in a program. You go to United States with a family, and then you're really going to speak English. And I'm like, okay, can you take me there? He took me there. When I got there, they said, you have to fill out some paperwork, and you have 3 chances to go to United States. 3 families are going to call you. And I'm like, great, let's get started. Fill out all the paperwork, hire somebody to do it. Said that I used to take care of lots of kids, which I did, but it had been a while. Because remember, I've been working since in this, I was like 19. First family call as I work. My coworker answered the phone call, and he said, Sandra, it's for you. They're speaking Greek. And I was like, no, it's English. I pick up the phone, and the family start talking. And I said, this is Sandra. I had a script. I start reading it. They start talking English, and I noticed that moment that I couldn't understand them. And I just heard them hanging up. Remember, I had 2 more shots. I had 3 families that would call me. I hired my teacher. I paid all the money I had it. I started practicing English, speaking with him, sitting down, practicing and learning and saying, now I got it, I'm going to do it. And we start trying to dialogue and carry a conversation so I could sound fluently. In the second family call, and they, the same, my coworker picked up the phone. They're speaking Greek. I said, no, it's English. Let me talk to them. I had the script, start talking. And again, they spoke English. We carry a little bit of conversation. They hang up. And that's when fear wants to kick in. And I said, you got no space here. I know I'm going to be in New York. This is October. I have until December. The next phone call, I'm going to be speaking fluently. I have no doubt that in December, I'll be in New York with everyone else. There is only one flight, one call, and I will be there. I can see myself eating crackers in New York. So then, the third family call, my coworker picked up the phone again. I don't know why. I could have picked up the phone. They're speaking Greek, and I said, it's English, but this time, it's my turn. I'm going to do it, and it's going to be great, all in Portuguese. I had practice, and I had to memorize, kind of like the speech for Toastmasters. I picked up the phone, and I said the whole speech in like 7 minutes. Maybe it was 8, I don't remember. And the family spoke Portuguese. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. That's way easier on me. Appreciate that. Then the family spoke Portuguese. I was
Wow.
able to speak Portuguese with the family. One
Wow.
lucky family in California that was looking for an au pair that spoke Portuguese. And then I convinced them, because obviously it was my native language. And she said, we'll be waiting for you in December. And that's when I came to United States. But I end up now going back to the second moment of fear. I went to live in California, in the wilderness, Redwood City. No, before that, another city close to Fairfax.
Okay.
Fairfax.
Okay.
And there, the family wanted me to speak Portuguese. The kids were very difficult. I had no clue how to handle little 5 and 3 years old. And that's when everything I used to touch will break. And again, I was like, did I came all the way here to just go back? What is the calling? What am I here for?
Let me touch that. Let me touch that. You said, did I come all the way here just to go back? But at the same time that you said that and you questioned yourself because of the situation, I think our listeners need our audience needs to know, even though you felt that question, did you feel that quitting was an option at any time?
No, quitting was never an option. Who gonna determine where I was gonna be? It wasn't me, wasn't the family. It was the higher power.
That's it. That's it.
So I said, you tell me, what should I do? I'm doing the best I can. I'm showing up. I'm waking up. And that's when I met with my counselor. And she's like, you probably didn't read the rules. I'm like, no, I don't speak English. And she's like, we don't send people back. We change families when things are not working. Because my family had already told me that I was not working because I couldn't cook, I couldn't carry the kids, it was a disaster. And that's when they reconnect me with a different family on top of the hill, like a mansion. I had my own room, a brand new car, had never drove before. And then that's when I moved to Redwood City. And that's where I really learned my English, because so far I had not learned any English. But then I had the privilege to take care of a 3-year-old. His name is James. And I said to him when I interviewed with them, I said, I don't speak any English, but I know you do, and you'll be my teacher, and I'm going to be your student. Mm-hmm. And then we were best friends, and then he taught me all the English. And I took care of him.
Amazing story. Amazing time. It's, to me, and I'm pretty sure our audience gets the same thing. That is, while you're enduring the process, the greatest test wasn't your faith. It wasn't relationships. It came in the form of your mindset. Your mindset was so focused on getting there, even though it was being tested, you were steadfast in that moment. I got to do this. Going back, nope, not going to do that. So your mind, the Bible says we have to be renewed in our mind daily. We have to constantly read the word to get stronger, because one of the things that I've noticed is that if I go a few days without reading scripture, I start to experience, I start to hear, I start to deal with a mind battle that's greater than the norm. So if I'm reading every day, yes, there's still a struggle, there's still a battle, but I'm able to fight that battle a lot better. And listening to your story, it sounds as if that you took the time to pray and say, God, you got me to this spot. You're going to take me on further. But you had to keep telling your mind in the midst of it. Am I correct? You had to talk to yourself at some point. What are some of those words you were saying?
I don't quite know if I was quite conscious as I am today,
Mm-hmm.
or if I was just like so focused on the tomorrow, like speaking fluently, or focus on why I'm here, that I don't have an answer, but I know it's important. But I don't believe I had the focus or the consciously at age 21 to really wake up every day and say, negative thoughts, you have no space here.
Mm-hmm.
Today I do have that conscious, and today
Mm-hmm.
when I see them coming, I immediately take a cold shower, meditate,
Mm-hmm.
pray, go to the ward.
Mm-hmm.
Today
Mm-hmm.
I'm more conscious, but I believe the words on my mind wasn't as loud as I grew older.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Because you grew, you continued to grow and even endure. And your endurance was built just like in working out. Your endurance gets built up the more you go through something. So our that takes us to our next segment, emerging from the wilderness. You get tested because you want to accomplish this. You are going through the motion and the process to make it happen. And then you reach the point where you're still in the test, but the test ends up being, if you will, an open book test because you knew Portuguese already. So it's like an open book test because you already have the answers. So let me ask this question of you. You walk through that process. You spoke of the struggle with the families. Was there a point that you felt a shift in this whole process, even when you're with these families? Did you feel a place where it's like, okay, I can exhale now. I can breathe easier now because it's not the same struggle. I feel like it's easier for me to go through this now, or I'm almost there. I'm getting my citizenship. I'm making it through. Did you feel that moment? Can you pinpoint when that moment happened for you?
Oh, I know perfectly. It was the day that I walk in the second family house. I walk into the house. They walk me towards my bedroom. They had my own entry downstairs, right next to the garage. And when I saw that bed, it was so high, looks like a princess, my own bathroom. And then there was this hallway, stairway to upstairs. And I look at the house. It was like a mansion. And the family, they were so close, so beautiful. Father, mother, one boy of 3 years old, and a 7-year-old daughter. And when I walk into the living room, even still not speaking in English, I felt, okay, now I can rest. Now I am okay, and I'm going to survive. I'm going to stay in this country at least for 1 year.
Mm.
And then I say, struggles are going to come. Maybe it'll be the moment that I have to go back to Brazil. Maybe God wants me to stay. And this was right before September 11, when I was going to complete 1 year.
Wow.
And that's when I got tested again. I said, I'm going to ask the family if they are willing to extend my visa. I had already done the whole year. And none of the au pairs previously had asked. And I said, I know it's a big call. I don't know how much you wanted me to stay, but I would like to do just another 6 months. I believe I need to be another 6 months. And because it was right before September 11, they submitted the paperwork and they said, yes, you can stay.
That's so beautiful hearing your story. And it really is so very beautiful. Oh my God. I have this question for you. What lesson do you feel that season taught you that you may not have ever received any other way? In other words, only going through this you could have learned. So what lesson do you feel you gained from going through this?
The lesson I gain is that doesn't matter what I want, doesn't matter where I want to be, it's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to the higher power.
God's got it all in control.
Even today, even yesterday, I feel like it's every day. Why are we here? Why I'm here with you? We say yes because it's presented to us, because we want to live in on the now. And we just say, we're just grateful. That's my journey.
Yes.
I'm just grateful for being here. I say yes. Sometimes I have to say no, but whenever I say yes, I say with my wholehearted.
Did you learn anything about you going through and coming out of the wilderness experience? Did you learn anything new about you?
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I feel like when you talk about weirdness, well, this word that I'm not familiar, wilderness. I feel like you're talking about my life journey this 26 years. I don't feel like you're talking about one single moment. And what I learned the most about myself is that I had no clue how special I was.
Wow.
I had no clue how incredible human being I was. I had no clue why God brought me to this world. And the more I can stay here, the more I clean my lenses. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so that's why you brought me here? And then that's what I kind of feel like I need to do. Sometimes I wish I could magically do that, clean people's lenses and say, you're also phenomenal. You're also incredible. You're also a gift. Wake up. I don't know how to do that.
I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. Because we have sight. Watch this. We often have sight, but we lack vision. And the vision, I believe, is where we find out we get our clarity first and foremost. We get our clarity. We know, we get directed to what should I be focusing on as far as competency or studying. What studies? What should be my focus? Where should I be helping people? Where should I be encouraging people? Where should I be focused on my gifts and my talents and my abilities so that not only am I helped, but others are helped and built up? And so when you get that vision, like you just said, finding out how special you were, then you can now walk the journey. Now you can fully walk in the path and the power that God gives you in your talent, in your ability, in your skill. When you go to school, your spiritual gifts, Now you can step out into this realm to say, I have identity. I know who I am. Doesn't matter what you think about me. I know who I am. And that brings me, that's a great segue to our last section. What does life look like for you now? That finding out how special you are. You stepped into a realm as we began of finance, of banking, of improving individuals' financial outlook. Tell us a little bit about what life looks like in that realm for you. What is it that you are committed to doing? What is it that you're committed to changing? What does life look like now for you?
So, what I'm committed to change, what I am committed to wake up everyone is that they are as capable as me, that they are not just as capable, but like whatever they wanted, they can reach. If they want to learn another language, they can learn. If they wanted to buy a home, they can buy. If they want peace, they can have it. If they want an incredible relationship, that is available too. They can have it all. Like, I love Tony Robbins. He says, why settle for only money if you can have it all? Health, peace, abundance. You can have it all. I'm not saying that I already have them all. I feel like if you have a circle and I would like measure, my wheel is not perfectly yet. I'm still rocky. But, and I think life needs to be rocky so we can, I need to put a little more thought into my health. I need to put a little more thought into my finance. I need to put a little more love into my relationships. And, but then that's what I mean. I would like to let everyone know that it is possible as long as they invest on themselves. One thing I realized in this journey is that it gotta start from you.
So how do you help?
You gotta go first.
Yeah. How do you help each person that you encounter in the banking system or in your personal business affairs? What is it that you do to start their process of you helping them to clean their lenses in the financial area?
Okay, so I use a metaphor always. Let's say they come to me with the most horrible credit of them all, 300. I have a horrible credit center. There is nothing goes like, I'm just not good with money. I don't have good credit. And I say, do you see my cup of tea? I say, normally I have cocoa. I drink cocoa often.
Okay.
I said, do you see my cocoa? Let's pretend it's a cocoa. I said, this is your finance right now. We are not going to try to remove that cocoa or chocolate or tea to find water, because you are water. What we're going to do is, look, I had the water here. We're going to add water to your tea.
Wow.
We're going to add water to your tea. We're going to add water to your tea. And all of a sudden, you will see water again. So if your finance is destroyed, if your credit is destroyed, we're not going to go back and fix it or, we're just going to add water. We're going to add something positive. We're going to add something else good. And it's kind of like your health. You start exercising. You eat something healthy today. It's like your mind. You read something positive. You start reading 10 pages in a book. And if you tell yourself that you never read before because you have dyslexia and million other labels, You just start from baby step. I always like to say, a small hinge move big doors. You just want a tiny little hinge. So whatever tiny little hinge you can handle, you go to one more hinge, one more, and all of a sudden you start seeing it, your credit improving, your health improving. And there is this phrase from Dean Graziosi that I absolutely love it. The way you do one thing, you do everything. I struggled with this phrase for years. But the more I go through my journey, the more I recognize that it's true.
That is true. I have seen that to be the case even in my life. When I take that evaluation, I'm going, I get these results in this area. Oh, but wait a minute, let me look over here. And so when I started doing that, I was able to do a reconstruction, a reset. And even now, there are moments where you have to do a reset. You have to do a tweak and say, this needs to come up a little bit. That needs to be declined or diminished in my life for me to have that peace that Sandra talked about, for me to experience that abundance, for me to move into a new level of joy. I got to change some things so my circle could get stronger. So my circle can get stronger. Now we're at the grace moment. And our grace moment is for our guest to take a moment in their own words, in their own unique way, to encourage the audience. It may be a verse of scripture that you live by. It may be a famous quote. It could be a cliche. It could be a proverb. It could be a reading, whatever is unique to who you are, that you walk by, you live by, you teach others, whatever that is. We take this moment for you to go, and then you give that back to us. So I'm going to step on out the way, and this is your grace moment, Sandra. We're in your hands now.
I would say my absolutely favorite quote comes from Tony Robbins. Life is happening for you, not to you. So even today, we are here. When I joined the call, you told me I love my tea. And despite of me reading your email and knowing that you were going to drink tea, I brought the water. A long time ago, I used to say, why you brought the water, Sandra, if it's supposed to be a tea? I used to judge myself. I used to get upset with myself. I used to think I did something wrong. And now I say, it's not about you, Sandra. It's about what is gonna happen. And I had no clue we were gonna end up into my cocoa idea and that I was gonna need the water. So whatever life brings to you, and if you fail miserable, which you think you're failing, if you think you made the biggest mistake of them all, there is no mistake. There is no wrong circumstance. Everything is an art. Everything is perfect. Because that's what I believe. Life is happening for us so we can grow.
Yes.
And then people say, but Sandra, I'm not attracting the things that I wanted. And then I compliment. You don't attract the things you wanted. You attract the human you are. You attract who you are. So if you're not getting the things you want, it's because you are not what you're supposed to be to attract that. And
Yes.
that goes for me too. If I am not attracting that 300,000 a year, it's because I'm not quite that person yet. But it doesn't mean that I'm not capable. It just means that I'm being prepared and I gotta trust.
Yes, that's good. That is good. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Sandra, for being my guest on today. You have helped us to understand that the wilderness experience does not have to be looked at in a negative light, but a space where we can come up, we can grow, we can learn, and we can appreciate what God is trying to make in and through us as life happens to us. I'm just so very grateful. I met you just a week ago at a Toastmasters competition, but you made such an impact in my life. I said, I have to connect to this young lady. I have to make sure that I bring her to my audience to let them see another gem that's doing great things in the earth. So now, Sandra, if someone wants to connect with you, someone wants to learn how to become who they're supposed to become, someone wants to improve their credit, they want to improve their financial outlook, please provide us email addresses, websites, social media, whatever it is, phone numbers, whatever it is that we need to get in touch with you. How can we connect with you?
Okay, so in Instagram, if you speak English, my Instagram account is excellent credit, the number 4, everyone. Excellent credit for the number 4, everyone. If you're in Texas, you can visit me at my work. I work for University Federal Credit Union, which on May 6th is celebrating 90 years old.
Wow.
And it's called UFCU, University Federal Credit Union, and you can schedule an appointment with me. But to be able to schedule that appointment, I'm just gonna leave my cell phone, which is the easiest. And my cell phone is 408-888-2748. Remember, it's a lot of 8 for a reason. I love numbers. 8 is the infinite. 8 is money. 8 is prosperity. I got this 408-888-2748 26 years ago, and I'm still with it. What else? If you are in another state and you would like to connect with me, I do help people privately. It's just my agenda. I don't have a lot of time, but I can try to do a one-on-one with you as well. Sometimes I open a few spots throughout my week.
What's your email address?
My email address is Michaelsen, just how you guys see there. My last name, my first name at hotmail.com. Michaelsen Sandra at hotmail.com. That's the one I check very often. I also have Michaelsen Sandra at gmail.com, but I don't check that as often. But I do have both. It's just my last name with my first name at hotmail.com. And of course, you can email me as well.
Any websites that we could look at?
Yes, my website is www.excellentcreditforeveryone.com.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, once again, Sandra, I do thank you for absolutely everything, for giving us a new perspective, a breath of fresh air. Thank you. And And family, Sandra will be back. I've already talked to her. She will be back in the future, and we will have episodes that will be directly associated with credit and finance and becoming better with our money. And she will give us some tools, some tips, and some tricks. You know she likes magic. So she will help us to understand at another level. So please stay close to that and be prepared, as that will be in the coming weeks. Um, Thank you again for connecting to Grace Talks. And always remember, as we continue, Sandra and I continue to grow, we say to you all as well, make sure that every day you're focusing on growing in grace. Everything we do is connected and significant with grace. So let every day be a day where you choose to grow in grace. Until next time, be good.
Thank you, everyone.
If you have a question or would like us to discuss a specific topic, Grace Talks wants to hear from you. You can email us at gracetalks@graceforlife.com. That's grace_talks@grace-4-life.com.